Okay, hi. Hi everyone. Really happy to be here live streaming from Tulum. My name is Linda Jacobsen. I am a coach, astrologer, and a counselor. And today I want to talk to you about the astrological weather, the cosmic weather report, if you may. And what times we are in, right? And a lot of us are kind of like, what the bleep's going on? So this can be very helpful to maybe gain more understanding at what is the bigger picture, what is the evolution that's kind of happening to all of us right now. And astrology is an amazing tool for kind of deciphering and looking at the cycles that we are in and understanding both our own journey and our own inner nature and what's going on collectively. You can say that astrology is a language. It's not really a belief system, it's a language, the language of the stars. So if you know how to speak it, you can decode what's happening. And you can also say that astrology does not create life, it reflects life. So it's a reflection of what's going on, and it can give us kind of like a map. So these times, right? This quote from Charles Dickens, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, keep popping up in my head. And I think this is a very common feel when we are in highly volatile and evolutionary moments. It's both exciting and it's also quite frightening, the uncertainty of it all, right? So I want to go to the bigger picture of what's going on through my perspective, through astrology. So we are changing a cycle, you can say, where astrology is also like cycles within cycles within cycle, as is life, right? Everything's kind of cyclic. But we're ending big cycles. And that doesn't mean that it just ends and whoop, like it's a new beginning, right? But there must be a culmination and then the new beginning. And we are kind of smack in the middle of this happening. So we've been living in what we can call the patriarchy for many thousands of years. And before humanity was in the patriarchy, we were in the matriarchy for many, many, many more thousands of years. So what does it mean? Well, it's kind of like we've been on this journey since we entered into the patriarchy of individualizing, and kind of we've been very goal-oriented, and we've been very ambitious and striving forward, so to say, into understanding our unique nature as each kind of human being. Before, in the matriarchy, we were more tribal and everybody was living together. But now we have come kind of to the peak of that. There's no more like cosmic life force feeding into these old ways of living. And we have, if you see it as an ocean, it's like the wave of the patriarchy of individualizing and kind of going from being like in bigger tribes to clans to families to, you know, individuals. Like we've gone so far as we can. And now the wave needs to crash back into the ocean. And this is kind of what's going on. So in this new paradigm that we're moving towards, we can call it the age of Aquarius. It's very common within astrological circles, but some other people call it the new Earth or a new golden age or what have you. The name or what we call it isn't really that important. But we're moving towards a new era where, if you say the age of Aquarius, a key word for that is unity in diversity. So we're not going back to a matriarchy where we're raising and worshiping the feminine principle. We're not staying in a patriarchy where the male principle, and this is not against men or women. We all, as men or women, have masculine and feminine energies within us. But we are not going to worship either the feminine or the masculine more than the other. We're moving into unity in diversity, okay? So for this to happen, the old structures are now coming down. And this is, as I said, what we're smack in the middle of. There's been a lot of energy, a lot of planetary movements in the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn relates to societal structures and what has been crystallized in time as kind of a 3D foundation. This is how it is. These are the structures that we all agree upon, and this is how we do things. And it's quite hierarchical. So what's coming tumbling down now is these kind of power dynamics that we have been in. This top-down power dynamic needs to transmute, loosen up as we move into this new paradigm. The planet Pluto, he's the great transformer. Where he moves, he transmutes things. And he is in the sign of Capricorn, has been since 2008, and will be until 2023-24, when he moves into the sign of Aquarius. And as of my understanding, that is when we will be seeing more tangible results of this new era that we're moving towards. And until then, we are in for quite a ride. We're in the roaring 2020s. It is the most volatile and revolutionary decade, maybe within this century. So, as these kind of power dynamics comes tumbling down, what is also on the rise is the divine feminine energy. So what does that mean? Well, first of all, we have to kind of reconnect with the cyclicness of life, and that the feminine, or Mother Earth, for example, if you may, doesn't only give life, she also takes life. And this is a part that we have been repressing. We don't want to see that. We've been trying to control and create safety through that type of control. And that's kind of, as I said, with this wave that will crash back into the ocean. We've come as far as we can with that, with trying to control nature and sustain life through control. It doesn't really work, you know? So as the feminine is rising, we will need to connect with our cyclic nature, that life and death are inevitable, and it is part of the cycle of life. We can find more emotional kind of like surrender, strength, and faith if we connect more to the idea of that when we transition, there is a resurrection. That's an interesting theme here on Easter, right? That there's resurrection. And that in this patriarchal times that we've been in, as I said, we have been individuating and really separating. What is done to the collective psyche is that feeling that we're totally separated, and therefore also when we die, for example, even though we all know that we won't be in this bodysuit forever and on, we can feel very scared because we don't know what will happen, and we do not feel like we're part of something greater, the greater, bigger whole. So this is the part when the feminine rises that we need to connect with again. And this can give us more ease and understanding and safety, and to trust that there is a cyclicness to life and everything changes. And we're in the middle of big changes. So the situation right now with this global pandemic is also very kind of interesting, right? With the sign of Capricorn, as I said, as it relates to actual physical 3D reality, that which have crystallized in time, and you can like hold it in your hand and look at it. And we are all now affected by this situation. It doesn't really matter, you know, what you believe in or so. Like, we're all affected by this. It's happening to everyone. And we've moved from like, oh, this is an energy, to like, it's tangible. We're all being affected. It's happening in the real life, not just in the energetics, right? And you can say that 2020 is the year of Great Awakening. And many cultures have prophesied about this being a time of awakening. And I personally believe so, and as we can see through the astrological transits, it's also very kind of supportive of that, and we can definitely see, as I've been saying, that we're transitioning out of one big era and into another. But these changes, moving into the age of Aquarius, takes time. It's not something that happens overnight. And as I said again, until 23-24, there will most probably be kind of a demolition, a tumbling down, a crumbling of the structures of society and the power dynamics, and this kind of top-down hierarchical power dynamics, so that the new can be ushered in. And I don't say that to scare anyone, but it's good to be prepared for that. It's going to be a lot of upheaval. And the way to go also when it's a lot of upheaval up here, it's to go deeper within yourself. And I will talk more about that, because when there is no safety to be found in the outside, or at least not safety as we were used to have it, we can still find it on the inside as much as possible. So Pluto is going through Capricorn still. It will take him some more years to get into Aquarius. But recently, the Saturn, which is the ruler of Capricorn and has a lot to do with our structures and our rules and laws and regulations, he has moved into Aquarius as of March 23rd. And if you experienced or remember about that date around March 23rd, it was quite a feeling of like the movie that was already quite weird, got a little bit weirder even. So if you felt that and are still like, ooh, I just want to say that that's normal, that's okay. Aquarius energy is quite eccentric, and it can take a little time to get used to. So Saturn has entered Aquarius, and Mars has also followed as of the 30th of March. So they're both traveling through Aquarius, and this is a time now in this whole kind of unfolding of things where we can really find new ideas, new ways of thinking, like out of the box solutions to the situation that we are in with this global pandemic that has an effect on all of us in several ways. You know, it's the economy, it's the structures in general are being shaken. So as we have some energy that's moved out of Capricorn and into Aquarius, we now have an opportunity to find that unity in diversity flavor, both within ourselves and in society at large. So just a reminder there, Aquarius is unity in diversity, not unity in sameness. So there will also be a need here to not blame and judge others if they're thinking and doing differently than you. Okay. And Mars as a planet is a principle of individualization, our individualized self, me, myself, I, and what I want, desire, and such. And we need to have that part. Everything is, you know, necessary. It's quite connected to like our ego in that sense. But we all need to have one because ultimately you're here to live out your own life journey. And Mars is kind of defensive of that within you. So it's like ambition, drive, and how we initiate action and such. And now that he's moving through Aquarius, as I said, there can be like new ideas on how to initiate change. And Aquarius is really out of the box thinking. And there can be like a lot of pushing the envelope, as Mars is kind of a pusher, a shaker, and a stirrer. He's a leader, he's not a follower. So I just want to encourage everyone to, depending on what type of lifestyle you have and what position you have in society, to really, you know, even if you don't have like a position where you can speak to others, and so it doesn't matter if there's a large group, maybe it's just like within your neighborhood and so, but if you have ideas for how we can usher in something that would be more functional for all of us living on planet Earth, like really encourage yourself to do and think about these things. And if you don't really have connection with people, like for yourself in your own life, okay, so push the envelope for the future and open up the structures, the Capricornian structures, really open up in your own life as well, so that new ways of acting can come through, both personally and globally. And we are all interconnected, so what you do on a personal level can also reverberate out into the collective. So there is a kind of analogy given by Jeffrey Wolf Green. He's the founder of evolutionary astrology, an amazing man, of the change from the archetype of Capricorn into Aquarius. And he says Capricorn is like a steel box, and Aquarius is like a grenade inside that steel box. And the steel box is very solid, right? That's Capricorn. Our structures of society, reality as we know it, is like very solid, and we think that's the only way to do, be, and have things done, because that's what we know. But that grenade inside the steel box, when it goes off, and it will at some point in the evolutionary cycle, and that's kind of where we're at, because nothing stays the same forever and on, the grenade will shatter the box. Okay, so more and more energy will move out of Capricorn. We still have Pluto and Jupiter there. I'm going to talk about that and what that can mean. But more energy will move out of Capricorn and into Aquarius, and the steel box will be shattered. So it's good to like start to get used to that idea that reality as we knew it is not really coming back, and necessarily so. This time is a time of shift and change and awakening. So we cannot just go back to the old. Pluto, the planet, as I said, of transmutation, power dynamics, and very deep soul material. He's moving through Capricorn. And when this shifting and such is happening, as we all start to feel, doesn't matter if you're a very energetically sensitive person or not, I think at this point we're all like, what's going on? Like life isn't really as I knew it, anymore. Pluto is an important archetype to kind of understand, because we're in transmutation. He relates to transmutation. Transmutation is when something shifts shape completely. So it's when, like the caterpillar transmutes into a butterfly. You can't, when you look at the butterfly, you can't resemble, like you can't see the caterpillar. It's like totally transmuted. Transformation is more like, oh, you're changed, but I can still see that it's you in a kind of like upgraded or changed version. Transmutation is a total merging for something else to unfold. So this is what's taking place of our societal structures. It's a total transmutation at bay. So another analogy for this is the phoenix rising from the ashes. But we, like, everybody wants to be the phoenix rising from the ashes, or that sounds like, maybe exciting or pretty, or like, yeah, we're rising from the ashes, but nobody wants to be in the freaking fire. But before you can rise from the ashes, you have to go into the fire. And this is where we are at right now. We're in the fire. We're in the kind of cocoon of the butterfly that's going to unfold. But when the caterpillar goes into the cocoon, it has to dissolve its own essence to be able to be transmuted into a butterfly. And that, for our ego structure, for our personality, is scary. And that's okay. So that's why I just want to address all of these things, so that you can maybe gain a deeper understanding of what's going on, and maybe find hope, faith, or inner security through knowing that this is nothing that we can classify really as either good or bad. This just is. This is evolution that's taking place. And evolution is a natural law. It's happening always, whether we like it or not. Usually evolution is gradual and slow, but sometimes there's cataclysmic evolution that happens when we have not been wanting to do the necessary on now. And that's going to usher a way for, says my internet connection is unstable. I hope you can hear me. We're in Tulum, Mexico. So, you know, it's a hi, I'm back. Yeah, here in Tulum, the internet isn't always that stable. So it was a little glitch. Sorry for that. Well, I was talking about transmutation, and that evolution is a thing that's um, necessary, and that usually it's gradual and slow, but sometimes there's cataclysmic evolution. And this is kind of what's going on now, as we need to make the necessary changes in our society for this new paradigm to take place. Also, one thing with the patriarchy that we've been in, when you overly worship the masculine principle, that is not life sustaining. As we, just beyond kind of judgment, it's not life sustaining, because we can see the results of that on our planet, and we cannot go on. So these changes that are happening, even if it creates a lot of uncertainty and they can be difficult to deal with, they are very necessary. And after death, there is resurrection. So this might feel like we're dying, or there's an old part of us dying, and we're definitely in this transition zone, and that's usually a highly uncomfortable place to be. So I just want to acknowledge that. And all types of emotions can arise, and there is nothing wrong with that. There's really no kind of exaggeration in saying that the world as we knew it is disappearing. And if you like, there is a new world on the other side of that that's going to reemerge, but we're now in the void in between. We're now in, as I said, the phoenix is now in the fire before he rises, and the caterpillar has now entered the cocoon. It's being dissolved before it emerges as a butterfly. So we knew for a long time, at least many of us, you know, if you're into some type of maybe spiritual practice or like astrology, we knew something was going to happen this year. Nobody knew exactly, and here we are. Yeah? It is a great awakening, but for this to happen, it doesn't mean that we can just love and light our way forward. So if you look at the planetary positions, Jupiter and Pluto are still in Capricorn. And they're going to do this dance throughout 2020. There is alchemy here, like deep alchemy. That's also kind of transmuting something, where you turn lead into gold, where you turn something dense into something more purified, right? So now, as Jupiter and Pluto are clashing together, the first pass of Jupiter coming up and doing an exact conjunction. A conjunction is when two planets are residing within the same degree of the zodiac. Happened on the 4th of April. And that was when we had that global mass meditation, for example, if you were part of that or saw that. So that was the first pass of Jupiter coming up to Pluto, and then he's going to move on, he's going to go retrograde, go back over Pluto in the end of June, and then station and go direct, and back over Pluto again in mid-November. So they're doing this dance, but they're going to be within degree of having an effect upon one another basically the whole time, because both of these planets move slowly. So what does that mean? It means basically that there's a huge unveiling and unmasking of reality going on. So Jupiter relates to our belief systems, our truth, what I believe, how I make sense out of things, the stories that I tell to make sense out of reality, and cosmology in the sense of this is how I believe that the world and the cosmos is kind of put together and my place within that. This is being Pluto transmuted as well. So it can give this feeling of being out in the woods, for example, and all of a sudden you realize you're out there with the wrong freaking map. Like your belief system is not up to date, you know? So you're out like running in the woods, like, yeah, I'm gonna get to a place here. My life is gonna unfold like this, and this is, you know, you do this, and this happens. You think you have it like figured out, and that's your map, and then all of a sudden you're like, shit, I have the wrong map. Like, no, it can feel like that. Like, I don't know what's going on, you know. And we don't like that as humans. It's to be with that type of uncertainty is not easy. We don't like it. But we have to kind of acknowledge that the reality is now being unveiled, unmasked, and it can feel like, I don't know what the F is going on. And to acknowledge that reality as it is for you, in the bigger scope of things as well, like, but for your personal reality, to really acknowledge what it is that you're actually experiencing. Because you have to like kind of like let go of that old map before you can grab a new one. It's hard to grab some new thing when you still are holding on to the old. So we can all just acknowledge that these times are very difficult, let go of the map, and trust that a new one will appear. And as I said, it's a necessity to kind of face reality as it is. So another theme for Jupiter and Pluto is, well, it's shadow work. It's a theme for 2020, actually, I would say, because we have to wake up to reality as it is. Because you cannot change anything if you're not acknowledging what is. Like, you have to look at yourself now and acknowledge your feelings. It doesn't matter if you feel excited, if you feel fearful, if you feel scared, like you're lost in space, like you want to go home, you know, or you're like, yes, new reality on its way. I never fit into the old, so I'm like happy we're going to create something new. Or like you're scared you're going to lose everything, or you're like, I didn't have anything to start with, so I'm not, you know, whatever it is, just acknowledge what is your reality and practice to sit with that. Because the only way to transform reality and to really grow and to do this alchemy of turning lead into gold is to accept reality as it is. You can't just bypass it like, I don't feel like that, so I'm going to pretend I'm not feeling like that, and then I'm going to create a new reality, because then it's not built on a solid foundation. We can't do that anymore. So no bypassing, see things for what they are, even if that might be unpleasant, because that's the way to actually change that. And there can be a lot of rising of unconscious material. Pluto is very related to our soul, and it resides within your unconscious. I mean, this has been very studied within psychology. It's kind of what rules the show for you. So if you really want to make a change in your life, you have to deal with what is stored in your unconscious. And that is that kind of alchemy that I'm talking about. So really acknowledge what it is that you're feeling. And if you need help to move through those emotions, well, ask for help. This is not a time to just go at it alone. But please, shadow work is kind of, you could call it owning these own parts of yourself. Because I know there's a lot of talk about shadow work out there, like, what does it actually mean? Well, it means seeing reality for what it is for you and owning those parts of you that you have projected or you have like not wanted to see about yourself, and like bringing those home, because you cannot ascend and like leave shit behind. It doesn't happen that way. You have to pick up all the lost parts, like all of those parts of you that were like, I don't want to be like that. I don't like that side of myself. Or, you know, I projected that upon others. Like maybe, you know, you're like victimizing yourself, or you're doing these different dynamics, and we have to own up to them as much as we can. Nothing is like totally black and white. Like, okay, I did all the work, now I'm done. It's a constant unfolding, but we have to own up to these parts of ourselves to be able to take them with us as we ascend and grow. We don't leave them behind. We integrate them into our more mature self. And that's kind of the alchemy. And then we can rise with everything. So this is a year where we will all be confronted with our own shadow and that of the collective. So get ready for that. And there are also many beliefs, Jupiter, Pluto, many beliefs out there, right, about why we are in this situation that we are in. Because, you know, like it's the 5G, or someone ate a bat, or like I'm telling you now because we're ending the patriarchy, we're moving into a new era. And I would just recommend to you to really practice to check in with yourself and what actually resonates with you, and not just take somebody else's belief or a story that's being presented to you as truth. I'm not saying that you're going to be paranoid and not believe anything or anyone, but really check in with what is resonating with you, because you're going to need yourself as a device and tool to be able to, you know, kind of move forward and knowing what is right for you. So we're all like, oh, I believe this, I believe that. So even what I'm saying to you, take what resonates and practice to stay in your own truth. Don't just take anything for, you know, just because someone says so. And about this as well, we're moving now into a period, actually from May to August, where Venus, the planet of relationships and harmonizing, she's a harmonizing principle. Quite the opposite of Mars. If Mars is like an individualization principle that defends our own, you know, my needs and what I want and, you know, action and so. Venus is more a relational principle that wants to harmonize and create beauty and connection. She's in Gemini. She's going to do a retrograde there for a long time. And you probably heard about Mercury retrograde, because it's quite a thing out there these days, whether you're into astrology or not. But all the planets, except the sun and the moon, can go retrograde. And actually the outer planets, Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, does so quite a lot, like almost half of the year. But the inner planets, like Venus, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter and Saturn is a little bit in between, but they don't do it as much. And Venus is the planet that spends the least amount of days retrograde. So it's quite special when she does this. And she will spend the whole period in Gemini. So this is also a time where you can find pleasure, that's Venus, and relationships and kind of harmonization through the Gemini archetype, which is like diversity, curiosity, studying, learning, sharing, connecting through social media, and like, what do you think? What do I think? It's quite chatty and light. It's like a quite young air energy. It's not so heavy, and it's not so invested into like, I sit upon the truth, and that is the only way to be. Oh my God, I don't know if the internet went again. Julian? You're all good? Okay, because I lost the image. Okay. Well, so Venus in Gemini. So it's a good time to really like network, which of course which is another thing to believe. We're all being put on our rooms by Mother Earth to think about what we've done and what's going on. And whether you believe that is true or not, it is kind of what's happening right here. We are in isolation. And network. So Venus can really teach us this year of how to not be so freaking invested in our own truth. Like, I need to be the one who's right. Or another thing is, I'm going to go into that, the lunar nodes are going to change signs soon. But another thing that could come up here is that we have emotional security attachments, like unconscious emotional security attachments to having our truth being kind of validated by others. And therefore we want to kind of convince and convict others to believe what we believe. But now it's really called for, and it's going to be even more called for, to come together, as I said, with the Aquarian thing. That's a bigger cycle that we're moving into. It's unity and diversity. It's not unity and sameness anymore. And then being able to know what's true for you, but not having to necessarily convict or convince others to believe this thing you do for you to feel safe. Validate your own truth. And then with Venus going through here and retrograde and all of that, to really look for what is unifying instead of what is separating you from others. Because we're going to have to come together. So from now on, I would highly encourage everyone to look at that, like what's my networks and how can I find people to share with. And also the Gemini understanding, maybe it's not the same group, like maybe I have this group for sharing this perspective or this thing that I like, and then with my partner I share this and we do this, and then I have another group that I share certain perspectives and I like. In my family, like you don't need like one group or one person to give you all of what you need. It's okay to be versatile and to divide it up, and like that's a good thing with Gemini, being able to be versatile. That's okay, and that we can find harmony. That Venus is again a harmonizing principle, and allowing ourselves to go to different places and different people to get different needs met. So another thing that's going to happen here soon is that the lunar nodes are going to change signs. And you can say that the nodes of the moon talk about our collective evolution, our evolutionary journey. They're very karmatic points in the zodiac where they are, or in your own natal birth chart. The lunar nodes are talking about your soul's kind of evolutionary journey, where you've been and where you're going. And they stay about 18 months in a sign, and they've been going through Cancer and Capricorn. The North Node speaks about our future evolution, and the South Node is kind of where we're coming from, where we might have to release and rearrange some things and let go of things for the future evolution to be able to happen. And as we've been going for a year and a half with this evolutionary path, we've been kind of having to let go of Capricornian themes of control, kind of showing up, doing our duty, and just being like conditioned by society to be a certain way, or if not, we feel shameful. Like we have to be, responsible citizens. And the future evolution in Cancer has been really coming home into our emotional nature and our emotional body, and into our own inner self, and acknowledge to ourselves, what is my actual needs? Like, what are my needs? And the Capricorn Cancer axis, we can call the security axis, where Capricorn represents the fear, and that creates outer security. And the Cancer, my inner would not be like that than other. We need both to be work in a while. Really fun. And then I'm back. Just rolling with the punches. Business as usual. Anyways, I was talking about the Cancer Capricorn axis, and that you can't just be in Cancer where it's like, oh, I'm so sensitive, I'm so emotional, I'm so vulnerable, I need everybody else to like tiptoe around me. You can't just be in Capricorn either, where it's just, I do my duty, I show up, I'm like, like a soldier, I'm just pushing through and showing up and doing my duty. That's not, sustainable either. We need both, right? But the future evolution has been through Cancer, of coming home into our own emotional nature. So this should have been a year and a half where we have all collectively and personally done that journey of really kind of like, what is it that I actually need? What is it that makes me feel safe? And hopefully we will have strengthened our relationship with ourselves on the inside, because ultimately the only safety that we can find is on the inside with ourselves. And from there, of course, we create connections and so. But it's been a task for us to really come into our emotional nature and acknowledge our own actual needs as humans. And this is something, Cancer is also a very, very feminine archetype, the mother. And this is something that's become evident, that in our societal structures, we don't have space to be human anymore. Just show up, you're 9 to 5, drop off your kids, pick up your kids, like there's no space for me to feel and need and be like freaking human. And that's one of the things that we are going to have to change. It's not sustainable the way we've been living life, or that we have a lot of assets on behalf of a lot of other humans on the planet not having any. It's not functional. And talking about that, I didn't mention in the beginning, and all honestly, I forgot. This beautiful event that Papaya Playa is putting together is a fundraiser where you can go in through their webpage and donate to the community of Tulum, to those people who do not have the means to maybe ride out this crisis that comes with this pandemic situation, even though we can call it the Great Awakening and feel, like it's kind of exciting because a new era is about to be ushered in. Yet we need to come together, as I've been saying several times, to pull this off and to take care of those that's Cancer, to take care of your fellow human beings. So it's a great opportunity now to go in and donate anything you can. It will be used to buy food and supplies for the people who cannot do so for themselves in this time. So please reach out and do a donation. So now, as the nodes are about to change signs, I see it, and this is my personal interpretation, right? But it's kind of like the last call. We've been put in isolation, and here we are having to confront. Is really a beautifully orchestrated scenario. We have to, even if it's highly not practical and uncomfortable and that, we have to confront our own emotional reality. When you can't distract yourself all day long with your duties and tasks and whatever, you sit at home and you're like, here I am. And this is a gift. We have to be able to be with our own emotional reality to create the security needed to be able to move through these highly volatile times that we are in, that are very exciting, but they're also like uncertain. So I see this as a last gift of these kind of nodal evolutionary lessons before they move in to the new signs, which is Gemini, Sagittarius. So the North Node in May is going to move into Gemini as well. So we've been in like, okay, I need to acknowledge my need and make a closer connection to myself, come home again and be like, I'm actually a human, this is what I need. And how am I going to make that, like, acknowledge that for myself so that I get my needs met? And now they're shifting into Gemini, which is like, okay, time to be like curious and learn and to study and research and like live in like diversity. And it's again, this light air feeling. So it will be evolution happening through the archetype of Gemini here for the next 18 months. So that means you should go out and network and investigate and be curious and find solutions and like research and study something and learn. Gemini is like the eternal student. Oh, why is that way? And how can that be? And you know, and to be that kind of curious person, because as I said, we have to confront our shadow this year. And good questions to ask yourself to actually do so is, what do I value and why? Especially as Venus, turn off my haircut. Especially as Venus is going to be very prominent as she retrogrades. She's connected to values. So what do I value and why? And who do I value? And why do I value that? And these why questions are Plutonian questions. Why? To get to the bottom line of something in yourself. So really look at that and like, what have I ignored and avoided within myself? And why have I done that? And like, what is power to me? And how do I use power? And how is it used over me? And why? What are my fears? And why? Like, why? Get really interested in like asking yourself these why questions. And like, to do so and to really be able to sit with the answers that might come up, and to have that Gemini lightness and curiosity can be highly recommended as we go deep. If you can be curious instead of like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm so effed up, you know? Why am I always being so difficult? Oh my God, I don't know. Like, that is not helpful. If you can be a little bit more curious, like, look at me getting really triggered there by that person saying that thing. I wonder why. It's interesting. I'm going to be curious here. So you can adapt that curiosity and lightness, and that can help you move through these necessary confrontations of your own shadow. So this isn't over. This is merely the beginning. These big heavy lifters, Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn, by mid-May they will all be retrograde. And I think that this kind of intensity of the situation that we are in now will kind of ease off. And this will be a time to probably kind of, ease off, chill down, and digest. When planetary principles are retrograde, is because we are about to reevaluate, reflect, redo, release, reform, realign, and and digest that which have happened in that area of life before we move forward again. So it can be a time of digesting all of this that has happened, but in the autumn, when they start going direct and towards the end of the year, they conjunct each other again, like things will most probably get more intense again. So this isn't the end. I don't want to scare anyone at all, but this isn't gonna be like, oh, we had a pandemic and now it's over and we go back to business as usual. Like, no, because that's not the evolution that needs to take place. So if we try to do that, we're going to get another something to have us realign and readjust, and it's going to get more and more intense until we get the necessary lesson. As it is in our own lives, when we repeat certain things, and you can get frustrated about that, but you can also think that the universe is benevolent and abundant, and you will get as many chances as you need to understand a lesson, both on a personal and a collective level. So we don't understand that we need to leave certain power dynamics and societal structures behind and start to coming home to evaluate and come home to our needs and to meet one another and honor the feminine principle again of connection, of being, not just do all the time, of being, of worth, of coming back to that we can be feeling worthy for who we are, not just for what we do. In the patriarchy, there has been an over-identification and focus on what we produce, what you achieve, what your ambition is, what your success is in the outer world. This isn't all of reality. We need to come into balance again. So if we don't do that and kind of restructure society around a more inclusive way of being and honoring one another, we're gonna get smashed with something else until we get the lesson. So you can do this work for yourself and really do what you can to kind of maybe promote that message and to do what you can in your own life to come into more balance and harmony. And there is a void that's going to happen as these structures comes crumbling down. And nature doesn't like voids. It's going to be filled up with something else. And in my work as an astrologer and coach, I work a lot with this of empower others so that you know what your kind of purpose is and that you are able within yourself to take leadership, because that's going to be needed. And if you are someone who's in these days feeling quite okay, that you are feeling inspired, that you want to be a part of ushering in something new, like you have a responsibility to reach out and support others, in a sense. Always check in with yourself first, of course, not like to overextend yourself, but this is really, that's, I would say, it's like a calling. And also why shadow work is so necessary is because the way to support others is never to say to them, your emotional reality isn't right, and I'm going to tell you what to do, or you shouldn't be afraid, for example. If they are afraid, like first rule of therapy, you have to meet someone where they're at. So when you do your own shadow work and you're not so triggered within yourself, you have a bigger capacity to actually meet people where they're at and not being triggered by them, for example, not believing the same thing as you do, and you become a more powerful soul that can actually help and transform and transmute and support others. But if you feel called to do that, please look at ways to do that and take positions of leadership. Doesn't have to mean that you're going to become the next politician or something. There's many ways to lead, but to really make your voice heard, because this is needed. So I just want to encourage that. We had a full moon on the 7th of April in the sign of Libra. And that was highlighting a lot of the relational material within us. Who am I in relationship to others? And I'm not going to talk that much about it, but because it's already passed. We could have been highlighted or having like some type of revelation around that. Who am I in relationship to others? And in this new world that is emerging, that we're still like, we're not really, as I said, we're still in the void of it. It hasn't really emerged yet. But who do I want to be in this new reality in relationship to others? How much can I give authentically to others? When can I give? To whom can I give? How much can I give? And is it okay for me to not give it all? Because that Libra moon can really have us feel very uncomfortable. Of course, this all relates back to your own personal birth chart and how your own kind of blueprint is for you. But that can be a theme here to look at, so that you give authentically and sustainably. And maybe just checking with yourself, who do I want to be in relationship to others in this new creation that's taking place? What is my own truth? It's a big theme this whole year. As I said, this dance between Jupiter and Pluto. And as the full moon passes, what do I need to shed off or culminate so that I can be more authentic in my relationships? And we have a new moon coming up on the 22nd of April. It's at 7:25 Pacific time, 7:25 p.m. Pacific time at 3 degrees of Taurus, in proximity to Uranus that's also sitting there. So when there's a new moon, it's always a good time for setting a new intention. It's the beginning of a cycle. So Taurus as a sign, as an archetype, is very related to the earth and our physical body. So it can be a beautiful time to really set an intention for how you want earth to be and how you want her to be treated and how you want earth to maybe be, whatever you feel, of course, has to be true to you, but see this flowering, flourishing, beautiful, functional earth. And put an intention for that into the collective, and as well for you on your personal level, for your body. How are you treating your body? It is your sacred temple. It is your vehicle for this life journey that you are on. So how do you want to take care of it? How do you want to take care of your body? Set intentions for that. What do you want to feed it? How do you want to care for your body? And your 5 senses is very related to Taurus. Maybe slowing down. Yeah. So Uranus is connected to this new moon on the 22nd, and it's in Taurus, and it has been in Taurus since 2018, and it will be until 2026. And I just want to finish this talk with that this is also a planet that's moving very slowly, and wherever Uranus goes through, he is ushering in an accelerated awakening and evolution. So moving through Taurus, that is part of why our economical system, as Taurus is related to resources, and money is a resource, is being shaken. We need to shake things up to be able to usher in the new. So for yourself is also a good recommendation, as Uranus is going to move through there until 2026, really look at what are your resources and really become really crystal clear with yourself what you value. Because what your values are is the first step to know where to put your resources. And resources is not only money, it's your time, attention, and energy, your focus, so that you are putting your resources into your actual values. And if you don't know what you value in life, then that is a good thing to research when we have these nodes going through Gemini, and get really curious about that as well. So I want to just kind of wrap this up. This is a lot. It's a lot going on. It's quite hard to be able to kind of address things that I find most important. because there's so much activity at these times. And we are living in highly revolutionary times and intense times. So just be honest with yourself. Allow yourself to feel what you're feeling. And know that there is always a way through. And also when it feels like there's no way out, there's always a way through. And life isn't about to end, it's just changing. And it's necessary. We're shifting an age. And you're part of it. So if you really feel like you're part of it, step up and take charge. So if you have any questions, you can contact me in person. Find me on Instagram, for example. And if not, I wish you all the best and stay safe, and many, many, many blessings to you all. Take care. Bye.